Today, President Biden and Vice President Harris will renew a push for federal voting rights legislation when they speak in Atlanta, Georgia, a state at the heart of the civil rights movement and now the voting rights battle. It's one of the president's signature agenda issues, and Democrats are under intense pressure from voting rights advocates to get it done as a string of Republican-led states are passing laws tightening ballot access.
Political correspondent Joe St. joins us now live from the Capitol in Washington. Joe, seems like Wisconsin Republicans and the president may actually agree on one thing. They both want to standardize some elections rules, for example, so you don't have one community with 100 ballot drop boxes and others with one or two. The difference being Republicans, at least here in Wisconsin, seem to be asking for few to none. The president proposing a major expansion as he pushes more absentee voting.
Yeah, Vince, what you're seeing in Wisconsin with Republicans is really being played out across the country with state legislatures and Republican leaders, and that is why President Biden is delivering the speech today in Atlanta. What do Democrats want? Well, let's show you. Let's remind you, in case you haven't been following this closely. Again, national standards is really the key here, Vince. They want that when it comes to registration, early voting access, how you're able to early vote and who. They don't like the idea that in Wisconsin it's very different from Michigan, which is very different from Illinois. So he wants to standardize that. Choosing Georgia today because the four most heavily populated counties around Atlanta, they've seen some big changes because of state laws in that state changing in recent months. In the 2020 election, there were 94 ballot drop boxes. Going forward, they can only have 23. Republicans say it's about securing the election. Democrats say it's restricting the access to vote. The president, a few excerpts of his speech today have been released. He's going to again call this a critical point for our country, an inflection point, with lawmakers having a choice to make when it comes to defending democracy. We expect it to be a dramatic speech, but whether or not the president can actually change anything, well, it's still up in the air. In fact, right now, he doesn't have the votes to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. He doesn't have the votes to pass the Freedom to Vote Act. There's a reason these two pieces of legislation, they haven't become law yet. 60 votes are needed in the Senate. He doesn't have 60 votes. Today in his speech, he's going to call for changing Senate rules to make it fewer votes needed. But right now, he doesn't have the votes to do that either. And a lot of progressive voting rights group events, they're actually protesting the president's speech today in Georgia. They are not attending it because they say they don't need another speech. They need more action. But a speech is what at least we're getting today.
Okay, Joe, and as we have you here, we do want to touch on this quickly. Some big changes expected this week for at-home COVID testing kits. For the average family, what do we expect that's going to look like? Will we have to pay for these tests up front, or is this a reimbursement type of situation?
The biggest change, if you can find an at-home COVID test, and you have to pay for it out of pocket beginning Saturday, and we emphasize Saturday. It doesn't look like this is going to be retroactive, so you can't submit a claim for a test you bought over the holidays. Beginning Saturday, you'll be able to buy that test, go online, submit it with your insurance company, and receive the money. In fact, some health insurance companies are expected to work with specific vendors so you can go there and receive it for free, not necessarily having to pay for it up front. But again, the tests have to be in stock, and across the country there has been a shortage of tests. The president expected to speak more about that on Thursday.
Okay, thank you for your time and for your insight this morning, Joe. We appreciate it.